Hello, my beautiful people. I am fresh, feeling good, coming off of my very first gut cleanse and parasite cleanse. I am 2 weeks out. I have never done anything even remotely close to this. I resist things like this vehemently. So I wanted to share all of my findings with you, what I got from this, what felt good, what didn't feel good, some of the protocols, some of the tools that I used, how I connected mind, body, and spirit into this process, made it more ceremonial and sacred. And if you want to know all of those details, I created a mini series that I will link to down below. But this video is a great place to start, so let's dive in. Firstly, the one that I did is from Anima Mundi. I'm not associated with any particular brands or any of the supplements I'm going to mention, just sharing what I used. Honestly, I picked it because I know it has a very good reputation. They're known for having organic, wild, crafted ingredients. I knew that if I waited too long in the research phase, I would end up staying there way too long and not actually jumping into what really needs to be done. So I took that to heart and I carried that through the whole process, that starting just jumping in is better than having any of the steps or protocols or supplements perfect. If you are totally new, I recommend choosing one of the bigger, more reputable brands. It's not going to be a one and done. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. That would be my first tip, that if this is your first round, don't make it scary or overwhelming for your system. Find a way to do this that feels actually doable for you, something that you somewhat look forward to, and something that's actually going to fit into your life and your lifestyle. You're going to have to make some changes and you're going to have to work around some of the protocols. This is a personal challenge at the end of the day. However, you don't want to go 0 to 100 if you're not used to personal challenges like this. So I kept getting a message in general to do a parasite cleanse. And over the many months when I did not listen, I felt like my soul sent me food poisoning as a very strongly worded message. Because the last couple of years I've been moving around a lot. I was living in Indonesia for 6 months, eating street food, eating in the jungle, eating things that my body is not typically used to. So I knew that this was the right time, but I wasn't pulling the trigger. So I got food poisoning instead. Woo! So the cleanse that I did is 10 days, and they do have a particular protocol that I will link to in the show notes that's actually from them. They also have a Parasites 101 video. I'll link that because that's not my specialty. My specialty is connecting mind, body, and spirit. So when I started the cleanse, I have to say that beyond having the intuitive hits, I saw that my body was definitely inflamed and a lot puffier than usual. I felt like my eyes were kind of cloudy, but I didn't have any of the other really dramatic symptoms that a lot of people have with parasites, like extreme sugar cravings, huge mood swings, very super active at night sometimes, a lot of bloating, indigestion. I didn't have that too much, but I just knew that this was right for me, and I have never done a gut cleanse, and I cannot say that I have had the cleanest diet in my life, so I just figured that if I have gone all these years really without any kind of reset, it can't hurt. So going into this, I would say that my diet was pretty good, but I do eat a lot of meat because I'm doing so much intense deep therapy with people. I feel like my brain uses so much fuel, and unless I get a lot of protein, it's very difficult for me to actually stay focused and grounded in my life. So that was one of the biggest challenges for me, was to reduce my meat intake. The protocol they use for the actual diet is little to no meat, little to no sugar, little to no caffeine, little to no processed foods. You want to eat light, whole foods. If they're vegetables, they usually recommend lightly steaming them. There's a lot of soups, a lot of stews, and a lot of fresh fruit. In their actual supplement protocol, there are 3 things that you take during the day. You take the pills in the morning, you take these bitters that go under your tongue a little bit before you eat to help digest the food. And there's also a gut sweep that has things like psyllium husk. It scrapes all your intestines and colons and flushes things out. So there's the element that gets the parasites moving and gets things actually detoxing from your body. There is support for your body when you need extra minerals, herbs to help you digest food, and so much as flushing. And then there's the kind of morning and end of day sweep that helps to comb through your system as to whatever's being dislodged, that it actually locks on and moves through your system and gets eliminated. The point of this is to actually eliminate physical things from your body, which then translate to emotional and spiritual elimination as well. So, before you do anything like this, I highly recommend becoming very clear about some of your intentions and also documenting your journey every single day. That is one of the most helpful things that I did during this process. I did a voice note through ChatGPT at the end of the night. Every single night, I went through my mood, what I ate that day, my energy levels, what I got done, what I exercised, and just general notes throughout my day in life so that I could kind of piece together a storyline, an arc of what was happening in my life. I loved that I did this because at the very end, it made me this really cool summary chart and overview how the kind of journey went. It was really nice to step back and organize all of it in a visual diagram format. If you use anything AI based, I highly recommend finding some way to document your journey if that aligns with you. With my diet, I try to do my best and not be too harsh or critical on myself because I'm doing this not for a physical reason, but to feel lighter in my life. I want to be closer to my body. I want to hear my thoughts. I want to hear my soul more clearly. Just felt like this cleanse physically was going to also create a cleanse in my energy bodies, which it absolutely did, which brought me a lot closer to myself. I tried to follow the protocols as much as possible without being critical because as my body is purging, the last thing it needs is a harsh inner critic or a guilt tripper inside my mind. I allowed myself to move through it with structure, but with a lot of gentleness and grace without being too intense on myself because it's my first time and I'm trying to release, not add more things to process onto my plate. You're going to have to start the process, start to listen to how your body feels and responds, and be open to being surprised. This is also one of my biggest takeaways. I eat meat with every single meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, sometimes a fourth meal. So my diet is extremely protein and meat heavy. And because I'm so used to that, my mind just assumes that is what I need to feel good and sustained. But as I started the cleanse, and I started to eat so much more fruit, I actually naturally needed less heavy foods and less meat to get throughout my day just because I felt so good eating so light. I wanted to stay in that place and not have so many ups and downs with carb spikes or sugar spikes or sometimes the heavy lethargic feeling you can get after eating a meat dense meal. I really just felt so good through the process for the most part that I looked forward to eating fresh fruit for breakfast. For me, that was really groundbreaking, and I have my bowl of fruit next to me right here because that's something I have continued over these 2 weeks. So even if you feel like you really know yourself, you have a diet locked in, just be open to seeing what's possible and what will change as your body purges and releases. So now that I've had a couple weeks and I've been writing down my notes from this whole process, here are some of the things I want to share with you. Firstly, listen to the whisper before things become a scream. This is something I'm really leaning into this year in my life is listening to the whispers from spirit before it has to bulldoze my house down. And yes, although you could say I didn't really do that because they had to send me food poisoning, I will say that at least at that moment I took action. I ordered it immediately and I started the next day. I didn't get stuck in analysis paralysis. I didn't go down a million wormholes, pun intended, on TikTok or YouTube about all the protocols and options and supplements and this and that. I took action quickly, and that is something I'm really proud of and something I would highly recommend for all of you. Of course, we're all different. If you have a practitioner or a doctor that you feel would be best to work in tandem with something like this, I highly recommend. But for me, I just knew that I needed to jump in and not procrastinate. Next takeaway is that the gut is really our emotional swamp. If your gut has never drained this emotional swamp, it's going to have a lot of things lingering there that probably do not need to be there. Beyond that, some of those things might not even be yours to carry. Our bodies, our nervous system, and our gut tend to inherit things from our ancestors, their fears, their sorrows, their woes that was unprocessed in their life. So some of the things that you may be noticing in your life or experiencing on a physical level might not even be personal to you. These things can be extremely confusing and difficult to heal because when you go to dive into it, it doesn't feel like this raw connection to yourself. You might not have a memory or a chapter in your life that feels associated with a particular symptom or trigger. You just feel like I'm really reactive in this scenario, or my body really is reactive to these kind of foods or these kind of environments. And a gut cleanse is a great way to do this really big clean sweep of your whole system to drain that swamp of your stuff and whatever might not be yours all in one go. That's the beauty of doing something very physical. You don't have to go into all the nitty-gritty details and memories if you don't want to. Your body can process and your mind can process things together without getting stuck in the minutia. For some people, that is very helpful. It's nice to know when to use certain healing modalities. There are times to know the origin, root cause, pull on the string, follow, see where it leads you. There are times where you just need a reset to Control Alt Delete whatever code has been written in this system and start fresh without getting lost in the sauce. A gut cleanse is great for something like that. My next tip is progress over perfection. Ease into this process with as much grace for yourself while trying to push and challenge yourself simultaneously. There's kind of this sweet spot of, I need to do something that is hard for myself, out of the box, do something new without going 0 to 100 and still giving myself some compassion as I move through the process, because you don't know how your energy level is going to be. You don't know how you're going to react to the protocols, the diets, this new way of being and living. I really recommend setting up this process with some parameters for yourself. You might think of it as going easy, medium, hard, picking one of those and finding a version of the protocol that works with you, while also just leaving room for a lot of flexibility. I would rather be honest, sincere, and truthful with myself as to what my body actually needs over following another protocol that someone else outside of me dictated and giving away my power. My next tip and thing that I learned is accountability goes a very long way. Tell people, tell your friends, tell your family. You don't have to convince or rope people in. I live alone, so this is easy for me to jump into something like this and not involve other people. But you might be a mom or a parent and have other people that you cook or live with. I recommend opening the door for them to join you without putting any pressure on people, but let people know the journey that you're going on so that they can be in the know and support you. If there are other ways to find accountability, like for me, I use ChatGPT, and at the end of the night, I wrote down everything that I noticed, and that was one of the best things that I did. My next tip is to make the process as ceremonial as possible. Think of this as a sacred container while you're moving through a beautiful challenge you have set up for yourself. This should not be agonizing. Think of it as a reclamation of your own power and your own divinity. The more presence and truth you can bring into this process with things like setting timers, knowing the protocol, writing and journaling, making it a sacred time where you really connect with your food and your body when you eat, not eating in front of screens, things like that. That is really going to help set up this to be a more inclusive and multi-dimensional experience for you. You might want to light a candle when you take your supplements. You might want to give yourself a hug when you do your supplements. In the evening, I did their castor oil on my belly. That's what they recommend doing at night. So at night, I would listen to my binaural beats or my affirmations. I would rub the castor oil on my body and say some kind words to myself and really infuse the process with a lot of love. My next step is to think of how you can stack your habits and protocols with other things that are helpful on other levels. At the end of the night, I would listen to these audios that I made for myself with these super powerful binaural beats that are highly specialized. And I would put phrases and affirmations with my voice overlaid on top of the audios, and I would listen to them at night. You are healing. You can release anything that you don't need right now. You can lay the responsibility down. You can take a deep breath and really let your gut hang out. Your body knows exactly what to do. Whatever the phrases and terminology that is helpful for you. So you can create these on your own. Super easy. Just do a voice note on your phone and put it into GarageBand over some binaural beats, or just the straight affirmations. That's fine too. But if you want to use my protocol and the audios that I created, I will put that link down below. Another thing that I made for all of you in this little mini series are journey audios. So there are subconscious rewiring audios that are straight affirmations to get used to practicing releasing and connecting to your body. And there are audios for when you want to pull on the string and you want more specific information, meaning you want to know how some of these patterns began. You want to know how your mind, body, and spirit connect specific to you. You want to know if there are memories that are important to revisit that need your presence and healing, that correlate to some of the symptoms happening in your body: inflammation, weight gain, barriers, boundaries, your relationship with food, all of that. So I made 3 different audios, 2 journey audios, 1 affirmation based audio. So if you want that kind of support, all of that is in my mini series that I'll link down below. This is what I mean by tailoring it to a process and protocol that is specific for you and your needs. I knew that I wanted the extra layer of affirmations because I know that my system really responds to powerful, concise statements that give me a positive affirmation of what I'm doing as a reminder for my mind to practice what's going on. I also really love meditation. You could just lay and listen and receive, but I like adding those sacred elements into the process so that it becomes more of a multi-sensory experience, and I really lean into the juice of it. Another thing that was helpful for me is having an extra layer of support system with a practitioner. Before I started the gut cleanse, I was working with a network spine chiropractor. It's specifically to really support your nervous system. And it was helpful for me to know that if anything came up, weird happened, that I would have someone there that I was already seeing 2 times a week, and that my body was getting another form of detoxing and flushing through my nervous system. You might pair it with acupuncture or a massage or a functional medicine doctor, or you might actually get your stool sampled. But I recommend having a version of support that's helpful for you. Another really helpful tip is to ask yourself really big, powerful, important, contemplative questions during this time. You are in a supercharged container of healing. You're giving yourself this short window of time to go all into a process. So make the most of it. I also wrote down a lot. I journaled a ton, and I put some really powerful questions also in that mini series below for you. One of the other things I took from this is it allowed me to change my relationship with challenge. And that is fascinating for me because I tend to lean towards comfort in a lot of areas of my life. I like to take the shortcut when it's possible. I hate following rules. I hate structure. I hate regiments. I rebel against systems and structures. Anytime I feel limited, I find a way to rebel against that. Through that process in my life, it's created an interesting dynamic with things like consistency, devotion, dedication, and challenge. And it has kind of allowed me to be more passive in places where I really needed more diligence and direction. Now that I feel like I'm maturing a lot in my life in the last couple years, I look forward to challenge like this more because I can see how powerful very intentional restrictions are. It's helpful to know that it's much easier to go through something like this when it feels genuine from your own self and not imposed on you from something external. One of my takeaways from this is I look forward to difficulty. I look forward to self-created challenge because I know just how powerful the results can be. Something else that's been beautiful and unexpected that is very helpful is I have an upcoming ayahuasca retreat at the end of August. This is the second time I'm going to something like this. And a gut body cleanse is the perfect way to start that ceremony to become prepared. If you have ever been curious or interested in plant medicine, there's usually this dieta that you do beforehand, usually a couple weeks. And just knowing that I have started so early, I have changed my relationship to challenge and difficulty and restraint several months before this process has really helped soften my entry into becoming prepared for ayahuasca again. Because to be honest, it was an intense experience for me the first time, and I definitely have had some lingering stress and hesitation going back into the ring with Mama Aya. And knowing that this felt so planned and so supportive for me, I feel a lot more held and welcomed going into the plant medicine journey ceremony again. So those are some of the tips that were helpful for me. Overall, what I noticed after this 10-day cleanse are my eyes become really clear. Like the actual color felt more vibrant and the white around my eye became a lot more clear. I felt like my skin looked better. And I did have a lot of energy throughout the process. I did nap most days, but it was short, maybe 20 minutes, and naps are also typical for me. I felt like I could get into the nap and out of the nap with a lot less lethargy. I lost 5 pounds and a little over 1% body fat. That was not a goal of mine, but I was tracking that also through a smart scale. So if you have any of those analytic trackers, that could be interesting to track each day. But again, only if that's actually helpful and supportive for you. If you have a difficult relationship with numbers and analytics and that will add more stress to this process, please just toss it. Always opt for gentleness and grace over perfection or analytics or any sort of stupid number. I also greatly reduced my stimulant intake during this time, and I felt a lot more level because I wasn't on these up and downs from caffeine or stimulants. I felt like I was always me. There was something really powerful that when I did get things done, I didn't feel like I was outsourcing my power to the stimulants. So having this container where all of my energy, all of my resources, everything I'm doing is just me and my energy between me, myself, and my food, I felt like that was really empowering and it allowed me to really feel good about myself because I was still accomplishing a lot and I wasn't leaning on any external versions of power. In general, my creativity soared through the roof after this process. I felt very vibrant. I felt inspired in the morning. I had so many ideas for my business and content creation. I could sit and write so many things. Even at the end of the night, when I would usually go to bed around 10:30, 11, I would still have a lot of energy at the end of the night. And I kept thinking, is this going to go down? Is this going to change? What fuel source am I running on? That's another interesting question to ask yourself through this process. What fuel source have you been running on? And without those things, what will you be running on in the future? I felt like I was running on creativity. I was running on lightness. I was running on my reconnection back with myself. And once again, it was really powerful to feel that. So here are some of the bad or things that I felt like could have gone better. Firstly, I didn't see any parasites or anything leave my body. That's not really a bad, that's just kind of a general note for people that are expecting anything wild or dramatic. It's not always going to be that way. And for me, I actually was kind of looking forward to seeing a very physical release. So I guess that's one thing for me to note, to check your expectations. I saw so many crazy TikTok videos and stuff like that. I was expecting a more physical process and I actually got more of an emotional, energetic process, which is beautiful and fine. Be open to whatever the experience is going to be and not like anyone else's. I did have significant energy swings for the first few days as my body adjusted, especially when I wasn't having any meat. I was eating so many times throughout the day. They don't really recommend eating all day, but I constantly had a bowl of fruit just because I'm 6'3", I weigh a lot, like I need a lot of food, or at least that's the story that has been in my mind. It's probably another good thing for me to investigate. The adjustment the first few days was a little bit difficult, getting used to always having a lot of food, having your fridge stocked with lots of options, fresh whole foods. Those foods also go bad quickly, so you have to eat things quickly and be ready to move things in and out of your fridge. Also, you need to really be ready to have food stocked up. I was starting from having the food poisoning, so my fridge was kind of empty when I started, and I was so hungry on my first day of my cleanse. I went to the grocery store. Do not recommend going to the grocery store when you're starving after food poisoning, starting a cleanse, because everything looks so yummy and delicious, and you just want to buy the roast chicken or whatever when you really need to be buying the pineapple. And so having a little bit of that organizational prep would have been lovely for me. Adjusting to no meat was probably one of the more difficult things for me. But once I had it once or twice in my day, and also the amount I reduced a lot. So my portion size of it greatly reduced, and I felt like my body responded really well to that once I got into the groove, maybe halfway through. Just be ready for whatever those adjustment periods are, and know that the first few days are going to be kind of a time for your body to make adjustments. Okay, and this last one is the biggest thing that I learned from this process, my biggest takeaway, and that is when you accumulate a lot of your own energy again and a lot of your own resources from doing something like this or anything else that brings you closer to yourself, whatever brings you in this state, don't give all of your resources away. It's kind of like you just refilled your cup. Be really, really mindful of the week or two after something like this. I really wish that I planned this more carefully. For me, right after the cleanse was Gay Pride Week in New York City. I had scheduled to go to that for many months after missing it the last few years. It's one of my favorite events. I love being in New York for Pride, and I also know that I'm going to be partying and having a lot of fun when I go out for New York during Pride. So to go from this very kind of a monk style, very structured, a very clean phase right into a banger weekend, it's something I'm still working through. Learning to hold on to your resources for yourself when you have them and not gamble all of your money away. That's a good analogy here. To not if you do something this powerful, this ceremonial, this important for yourself, and it brings you back to yourself, don't sabotage it and give it all away to substances, over planning, or jumping right back into your life or binging the next week. Try as best as you can to ease out of it gradually, just as you eased in. If you did a few days of eating lighter before you started the cleanse, you're in a really susceptible, spongy, malleable state at the end. My recommendations are to do a closing ceremony. I did that through meditation and with ChatGPT, gave me the overview, gave me the highlights, gave me the map, and it also reminded me of all the things that I accomplished during this time. That is another really big tip for all of you, is to purge other elements in your life that are ready to go as your body is purging. So for me, I got paperwork done with my taxes, cleaned up stuff with my accounting. I sold a car. That's a whole other story. A car that I needed to sell that was just kind of sitting in my parking lot. Just stuff that's dead weight that sits on your list like, oh God. Deep clean your house, whatever needs a purge. This container is the time to do it. Doing a closing ceremony is really helpful to look back at all of those things that you did that fit that category. And there were a lot of things that I did that I thought, oh, wow, I kind of forgot that I did all of these things in 10 days. That is really powerful. So use this as your sacred, supercharged container to release things from your body, to purge emotions, to lay ancestral pain down, and to start making moves in your life that create space for more of your spirit to be closer to you. For me, that was my biggest intention. I want intimacy. I want presence with my own self. This cleanse gave me a lot of that. And I am really shocked to say that I am looking forward to the next season of doing this. I think I'll do this 2 to 3 times a year, maybe once a season. I felt so light. I felt so much more connected to my body, and my mind was just so sharp that I can't help but look forward to it. So if you have questions about this process, please let me know. Send me a DM, send me a comment. If you want to go into exactly my protocol, get the audios, get the journaling prompts, all of that, I will leave that link down below. And enjoy your cleanse, enjoy your body and your life, and I'll see you in the next video.